We are now live. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday.
It's Together Tuesdays. We're just gonna give some time to let people come on and catch on to us on Facebook. Ani's still under the weather, so she can't join us tonight, but everybody else is here. We're looking forward to seeing everybody once again. I know we got 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks till conference. It's crazy talk.
And we were just talking about prom, the highlight of the conference. So can't wait to see everybody's outfits, everybody on the dance floor, everybody having fun. So, but yeah, this is like creative outlet perfection, for people who truly like colors and like to come up with really interesting looks and outfits. This is a perfect prom to attend. Um, so for those of you who got costumes, I was just hearing that. Can't wait to see what they look like. I have not looked at costumes in a very long time, let alone an 80s one. So I guess I better get on Amazon and start doing some shopping. Um, but yes, we're certainly going to have some real fun. And tonight we have quite the treat, not one, but two board members. So um between Erin and Brittany. We'll see if they team tag. Otherwise, Erin, we know she's taking the lead. Brittany was coerced into joining us, but we're so happy to have her.
I usually watch on Facebook, so it's different.
Yeah.
Now.
Yes. Well, I told you, it's like we love seeing your beautiful smile. So we're glad that you joined us, and we're glad that Erin is the reason why. Um, so we're gonna give them a couple minutes. We always do that. Oh, you know what, Ted? There will be no bathtub today. You're muted.
There's no what?
Bathtub.
No, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll take everybody's names and we'll make sure that Ani and I can do that next time. She's once she's feeling better. She is the
Okay.
owner of the tub.
Yeah. Well, we will probably skip Together Tuesday next week because there's a lot of preparation going on leading up to conference. So instead of waiting for next week and doing two bathtub draws, we will probably do the drawing during the week and just announce it to the winner. But yes, for those of you who have not seen it, Annie has the cutest little standalone bathtub, and she uses that to keep people's names and draw for winners and some swag. So makes for some fun. Hello, Stephen.
Hello. I don't make
How
many
are
of these,
you?
but I'm glad to be here and I'm fine, thanks. How are you guys all doing?
Good. Are we
Good.
gonna see you at conference?
Oh yeah, yep, I'll be there.
Awesome. No speeding.
But there might be a little speeding. We have a bunch of stops on the way. We're going to see family and friends on the way down and
Okay. Oh, so you
dancing
have a full plan. How nice.
yeah, we're leaving on Sunday. So
Oh, this Sunday?
yep. Yep.
Oh, wow. Well, that's
So
gonna make for some fun trips.
we have
Um,
grandchildren's and aunts and other kinds of things to see along the way. So
Nice.
Oh, very exciting. I love it when people make the most of that and you get to hit up different spots, different stops along the way. But spending time with the grandkiddos, that's probably the best.
yep.
Hello, hello. We have Felicity. We have Uncle Rod. Now, I don't think you've ever missed a session, have you?
I missed one 2 weeks ago because I was sick, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna pretend that didn't happen because I think that you're a staple. You're here every Tuesday.
Hey, family calls, I answer.
Oh, very, very sweet. Courtney's with us as well, so a lot of familiar faces.
And
I love my screen's getting full.
Erin, your aunt is here on Facebook. She just messaged us saying she was there.
Oh, very, very sweet.
So
Ted, what do you think? Should we get started?
Yeah, so Erin, what kind of stuff do you want to share with us tonight? Let's get this party started.
I mean, if you want to ask certain questions and then I can branch off from there.
Sure.
But I mean, I can start with the basics. I'm 39. I have AMC. It affects all 4 of my extremities. I got 3 dogs and 2 cats. And since the post was made, 2 of my fish died.
Oh no.
Oh,
And
All
as
in
I was
one, are
telling,
they all in one fish tank, or are they like in separate
no,
parts?
they're all in one fish tank. They're
Right.
the glow fish, like the neon fish.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
So,
nice.
My neighbors who live behind me, actually, I was talking to them the other day and asked them, you know, if they were going to be home the week of July 4th because I was going out of town. I need someone to fish sit. And they just looked at me and they're like, fish sit? Really? That's a thing? I was like, well, they need food and they need their light on and off. So, yeah.
Nice.
But I've got that little zoo and I live on my own in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
and I work at Social Security. I actually just got my 10-year certificate and
Congrats.
pin thing. I'm a Title II claim specialist with there. So I deal with anything from survivor benefits, retirement benefits, spousal benefits, disability. I do work reviews, things like that.
Mhm.
I do a little bit of everything, actually. I feel like I am able to do like the initial applications for anything for SSI as well. However, I don't do a lot of the nitty gritty stuff with SSI. So I'm only trained and proficient on the Title II Social Security side.
Mhm.
I also I spend a lot of time, especially in the nicer months, going down the street to where all the feral cats are. And I was down there earlier today. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. I did go check on them. My mom told me not to go because it was so hot outside, but
Yeah.
there's kittens and they're cute. And so my one friend went with me and we went down, fed them all, and she's also part of a rescue. So she's going to try to get the kittens with me to get them into a rescue.
Nice.
Oh,
Um,
very sweet.
but I do that a lot. Spend time with my nephews when I can and my niece. So
Your mom is watching. She told us, she texted us. She said, yes, mom is watching.
Oh no.
sorry, Mom.
You may have to do some explaining after today's session.
Well, no, because I figured that I saved my house from the fire I told you about earlier. It didn't catch on fire, so it's okay.
Yes.
I
So
mean-
you redeemed yourself. Not only are you saving and taking care of kittens in this horrific, really hot weather, but you saved your house from burning down. So,
Right.
which means
And
makes you twice the hero in one day.
I like the way you think about it.
You're welcome.
So
So Erin, talk to us about growing up with AMC. What was your introduction to the condition? How it affected or not affect your upbringing? Meeting the AMCSI
well,
community.
I grew up it's a small town, but everyone knows it, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And I was born in the 80s, so I don't really know how much they really knew about arthrogryposis at that time. I was diagnosed right from birth, obviously. There was nobody else in my town with it. However, there was another girl my age, and she had cerebral palsy. And so we were in the same elementary schools, and they put us together. We had shared same personal assistant. My mom, I got to give a shout out to my mom. She did a lot of fighting for me to be mainstreamed with every other kid who maybe did or didn't have a disability that was visible. And I know that definitely took a lot from her, and she raised my three siblings and I, and she treated me just as the others. There was no, oh, well, Erin's got this condition, there wasn't a whole lot of babying me. And I am grateful for that. I mean, sometimes we all have lazy moments where we're like, can you just do it, please? I don't want to do it. But she never really let me get away with things. And I still remember to this day, my mom has this love of moving furniture around. And she moved my room around once, and I did not like how she moved it around. And I was very particular because I wanted stuff a certain way because it was easiest for me. And so that night when everybody went to sleep, I decided I was going to move my room back the way that I wanted it on my own, which the dressers were heavy dressers. I mean, they had all my clothes in them as well, too, and they were solid wood. So I moved 2 dressers and 2 twin beds back how I wanted it. And I remember in the morning, my mom was like, how did you do this on your own? Like, completely surprised, but it also backfired because then every time I was like, I can't do it. She's like, yeah, but you can move your room around. I was like, yeah, I did do that.
The
So
secret was out, Erin. You were able to show your strength and superpower, so you couldn't hide behind that anymore.
no. And I mean, there are times that still gets brought up. So, but I mean, at least I knew from a young age what I wanted and how to make it happen. So I guess there's the good in that. I went through high school with a personal assistant and my friends helping me. Went on to college at Shippensburg University, and that was definitely an experience. I learned a lot more about advocating for myself in college, and more about what the quote unquote real world was like.
Mhm.
I do remember still that I was very nervous that I wasn't going to be able to go to college and actually live on campus, because we went and toured the dorms because I needed a shower that had a tub with it. And being able to get to and from the showers in a regular dorm, I would have to crawl. Because at that time I just wore leg braces. I had a scooter, but I didn't use it permanently. It wasn't my main source of mobility. And I thought to myself, I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work. But then it all worked out. I actually got to move into the apartments on campus, which was good, but looking back, I think it could have been better if I was with like freshmen my first year versus upperclassmen. So it had its pros and its negatives. Graduated from college, moved back home to my mom's house for the summer and fall of 2007. And then I drove my mom crazy because I was going out with my friends and coming home at like late hours, and she did not appreciate that. So I moved out to Harrisburg area where I live at now. And I remember I filled out some application online. I had no idea what I was doing. Filled out an application online for accessible housing, and they ended up calling me and said, you know, hey, we have a unit that's coming available. Like, we want you to come down. It ended up being in the low income housing, which was fine for me at that time. I didn't have a job. I was just going to live off of savings. So I moved to Harrisburg, started working for the state, and I worked with the state for about 5 years and some odd months. Then I got furloughed. And while I was at the state, I decided to start grad school for my master's, and was going for vocational rehabilitation counselor. I got furloughed, which was at the perfect time because I could then finish my master's, finish my internships that I needed to do. So I didn't have to try to do schoolwork, an internship, and work full time all at the same exact time. And then once I got furloughed, I was also a client of the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation here in Pennsylvania. And because I also worked for the state prior, I knew a lot of the higher ups. So I was working on trying to get in with OVR when I actually got a phone call from my vocational counselor that Social Security was hiring, and they wanted to go through OVR and see if there were any individuals that would be a good fit. And he asked me, he's like, do you want me to give them your resume? I said yes. And I'm grateful that I did. But at the time, I also was only saying yes because I was in the car with my mom when I got that phone call, and then it was her birthday. And I was like, I can't say no. I don't want a full-time job when I'm with my mom and it's her birthday. Like, she'll be so disappointed. So I did it, did the interview, and my district manager and I were actually just talking about this the other day. The interview process, I told him I wasn't really sure I wanted the job, and so I wasn't putting a lot of effort into it, but I was still trying. And the very last question was, tell us how to do a process of something you know very well. And I hate interviews. I don't know anybody else, but I absolutely hate job interviews because I don't want to sit there and put myself on a pedestal and like make it sound like, oh, I'm this great person. I'm an average person like everybody else. So I froze in that minute, and I was like, I don't know. What do I know how to do? And so I told him how to make leg braces.
Nice.
And he told me like that still stuck out to him till today, because it was one thing that nobody's ever said before about how to do it.
Right.
And I was so detailed about it. And I was like, well, you know, I know it because I've done it my entire life.
Right.
So,
And now you just celebrated 10 years with them. So it's good you took the phone call and that it worked out.
yep. I guess I really do owe a lot to my mom. She was a big supporter of my life. So
It's good that
we-
mom was there, so you had to say yes as a father. I'm
it,
saying.
it really was. And I was like, I can't even imagine what my life would look like right now if I didn't have my job, because it allows me to have the little zoo that I have and everything else that I have. And, I can do things that I want to do. And sometimes it means spoiling my nephews when my sister's like, no, he doesn't need that toy. And I'm like, but he does. So
It's the job of every aunt, isn't it?
exactly. That's what I'm here for. That's how I see it. So
Stephen will agree as a grandparent.
what was that?
That Stephen will agree as a grandfather. Grandfathers, grandmothers, aunts
Oh,
and uncles.
definitely not. My kids are spoiling my grandkids too much, so I'm not a spoiler.
I might be the big spoiler of the family. I don't know for sure. I know my mom and my dad, they both spoiled my nephews and my niece, but I mean, they're appreciative of everything. So it's not like they are just ungrateful for the things that they get. So that's
Well,
always nice.
That's important that they can appreciate it. So tell us about how you found AMCSI.
So I have a friend, and she and I, we were back in 2017, we were talking about my condition and if I knew anybody else with it. And I told her that I had met somebody when I lived in an apartment down in downtown Harrisburg. I was in the laundry room doing laundry, and a lady came in and she started talking to me, and she's like, do you have AMC? I was like, what? I was like, somebody knows about it? Yeah. And I was like, how'd you know? She's like, oh, I have it. And I was really like taken back because I didn't at the time realize how many variations and ways it can present itself. Because she is a full-time power chair user. And so I was really surprised by that. I just thought it was the same as what I was and how I did everything. I thought, okay, well, everybody's like that. So that was my first time meeting somebody with AMC in person. Growing up, I knew about somebody else with AMC because my mom had joined a mailing group, something like that, called Avenues. So I don't know the older people if you know about Avenues. She had joined that, and there was a family that wrote back and forth with her a lot. I don't really remember their names, but I'm sure my mom can write it in the Facebook chat.
Your sister is there too, as well.
I recruited everybody.
Yeah,
It's
she
a
said,
family reunion tonight. Sister, mother, aunt.
Lynn Miller
I'm
says that mom always treated Erin like her siblings and let her know that she could do whatever they did. We just had to figure out how. That's what Lynn Miller just commented. Sure.
Lynn's my mother, yes.
She said Avenues was the support group.
Yes.
So she is there.
So that was like before Ani founded AMCSI and made it what it is today. But my friend and I were talking about people with AMC, and she said, why don't you just look it up on Facebook? Like everything's on Facebook. I was like, yeah, you're right. So I did, and I came across the conference in Vegas. And I was telling her about it. She's like, you should go. I was like, yeah, but I'm not going to go out and fly out to Vegas by myself. So one of my other friends from my hometown was coming up to visit that weekend. And I said to her, I was like, so you want to go on a trip with me to Vegas and see what this whole AMC conference thing is about? And we could also be in Vegas. Like, and so she agreed. And so we went to the conference, and very first night and starting to meet other people, I remember thinking, this is crazy. Like, all my life, I've never known really anybody else with my condition. And yet there are so many people, and it affects them all in such different ways. And some people have much more severe limitations, and some people you wouldn't even realize it if you didn't know. And actually I met a girl, Ashley, there, and she and I, we were in the adults chat group, and we were talking just about like where we're from, and she told me she lives in Lancaster. I was like, are you serious? I live in Harrisburg. They're not far from each other. So it was really cool to connect with other people and somebody else that wasn't far from where I live with it. And then COVID happened and everything went virtual. I'm probably one of the few people that actually thinks COVID was a blessing, and I loved COVID because for the first time it felt like I was almost on the same playing field as everybody else, because there were virtual concerts and things like that. So if I wanted to do it, I could easily just log on and do it, you know. And AMC started doing the virtual chats, and you know, if I wanted to, it was easy to just log on and do it. I didn't have to sit there and think about the logistics of how am I going to get there? What are like the bathroom situation going to be like? What's the layout of wherever it's going to be? Is it going to be easy for me to use my wheelchair or walking when I was using leg braces?
Mhm.
So with the adult group Zoom meetings on Saturday nights, I remember meeting, well, most of the other girls on here: Sierra, Sherry, Brittany, Carly, Courtney, Felicity. They were some of the first people on the Zoom chats with me, and we ended up on an 8-hour video chat with each other. And I was actually just talking to Brittany about this the other day, and I was like, what did we talk about for 8 hours? Like, but when you're with other people that understand your situation, it's so easy to just talk about everything and anything.
Mhm.
So looking back now, I'm like, yeah, now I know how 8 hours went by really quick. So that was my introduction to conference and more into the AMC world. And now I am on the board of directors, as Maria, you've said before. I've been on the board 2 years, I believe now. Close to it. This would be the second conference, but I missed last year. So I think 2 years.
Yes, going on too. And we're so glad to have you.
Thank you. That's a lot of my life.
So I know that you had some how-tos that you were hoping to share.
Mhm.
I don't know, are we able to, Ted? Do we have?
Yeah, I can cue this up.
Okay.
You,
Well, there's always value in how people do things. And I know that Brittany has done a few. My favorite one is her doing her ponytail. And I know that Chris has done a few as well. So it's great ways, as you mentioned, right? AMC can affect people differently. And everybody has found their own way to work around things for everyday life and adjusted and fitted things to accommodate you. So I know, what are we going to see? Is it going to be you cooking?
no, it was I'm wearing a swimsuit. I will start with that.
It's the shower.
It's the shower, yes.
Yeah.
And that was my friend, because she always would be like, you should make videos of how you do things. And I never really like wanted to put that out there until I met more people with AMC who understood it, because there can be some really hateful comments and people on the internet, as we all know. And I just wasn't ready or willing to make myself that vulnerable. But once I got more involved with the AMC community, like, that wasn't a fear that existed so much.
Okay, so
So now everyone can see how I shower.
so let's see. Everybody should see this now.
It's gonna be a long video. Forever. Oh, I can't fly around as much as I want to. Sorry about all the talking. Oh, that was weird right on my suit.
Rinsing the soap is always so hard.
It is.
And you have long hair too, so that's twice as hard.
Yeah. And that was when I had a whole head of hair. I've got an undercut now. So I don't have nearly as much hair, but it is so hard to get the conditioner rinsed out. There are many days my sister comes over in the morning to help me with things, and she's like, you still got a whole bunch of conditioner in your hair, so we'll just rinse it out in the sink.
You get points for courage for doing this one. I'm not sure I'm willing to show people myself in the shower.
Well, it was something that, a lot of people, I know washing hair is definitely a thing that I've heard throughout the AMC community is hard, and it is. I mean, I've struggled with figuring out ways to do things.
How do you get in the shower?
So I crawl, and so I put my arms on the ledge of the tub, the outside ledge, and then I swing my right leg over, and then I just kind of am in it, and my left leg just falls behind.
I love the fact that you're showing not only how to do your hair, which is tough, right? But you're using a regular shower. A lot of times when we talk about AMCers and especially with conference, all of our discussions revolve around, rolling showers. We
Right.
don't always talk about a traditional bathtub. So I agree with Steven, twice the courage, because not only are you showing something that most people won't, but in a shower that is very common, a full bathtub. So it's certainly a good question to address.
And I've found actually that using a bathtub shower is easier for me than using like a roll-in stand shower. because I can use the ledge to prop my arms up on to do things. So,
Nice.
because I've used roll-in showers and I've struggled.
Hmm.
I have a roll-in shower where we've mounted the handrails much lower, and I actually sit on the handrail. So because my legs aren't strong, and so I sit on the handrail, and that really helps. But if they had put the handrails in a traditional position, they only get in the way.
Mhm.
Yeah. I've also I now permanently use my power chair because when COVID shut down the world, I was dealing already with a lot of skin breakdown from my braces and rubbing. And my doctor was already having me work at home like 4 days a week. So that way I could try to get the skin to heal, because every time I would wear braces, then that night I would take off braces and tights, and it would would be open sores, and that becomes quite painful. But now using a power chair, I'm not in the pain that I was in with the braces. When they're not causing the skin breakdown and everything like that, the pain isn't unbearable, but I've also lived with it my whole life wearing braces.
Mhm.
So I now realize that I have more energy for trying to do things on my own. I figured out how to carry a laundry basket upstairs. It's not really safe to do, probably, with 3 dogs and living on your own, because they could run past me at any given second and throw me off and do some somersaults down the steps. But that hasn't happened. I try not to have to do that. I have people that come and help me out. So I try to save the stuff that I know isn't safe for me to really do on my own for other people to do.
Mhm.
I've taught myself a while ago how to make spaghetti and macaroni and cheese using my mouth, which, again, not the safest thing to do, but I used to live off of pasta. It was the best thing in the world. So I figured it out.
Nice.
Well, I have seen so many talented people in this community, and even when using their mouth, the things like they can do. And I mean, Chris is here with us, and we've seen him do beautiful paintings, face painting for the kiddos. I watched him put Legos together using his mouth, and I was in awe of the shapes and all the things that he could do. And clearly, when there's a will, there's a way. And right, he found his own creative outlet and made it work for himself. And just like you found a way to cook your favorite food, and you also made it work.
Yeah.
And I
I
think
mean,
that's. Go
it's
ahead.
not to say that my teeth haven't taken a beating. I've chipped my front tooth like numerous times. But I mean, it's only the front tooth that's chipped, and they've always fixed it. So I've also chipped
It's
it because
only
of
the front
falling.
tooth.
It's only the front tooth. I mean, they can put it back on. And my dentist was like, Erin, stop using your mouth. I was like, it's not always using my mouth. Sometimes I fall. And when I fall, I don't have a way to like brace myself or to stop it. And it just goes down. And unfortunately, sometimes my tooth is what goes out. So
It's true.
With the shower, since you were showing the bathtub, do you ever bruise up? Do you get hurt as you climbing over and your second leg follows? Has that been a challenge for you? Is there anything that you have discovered you can put on the bottom of the shower to cushion the fall?
So I've used showers with like a shower mat for making it not so slippery, but that actually makes it harder because I've got to use that slip and slide ability to turn. If it's sticky, I can't move as easily.
Yeah.
Bruising, I randomly find bruises and sometimes I don't know where they came from. So I can't honestly say. I'm like, oh, something happened. Don't know what happened. It's a mystery.
I'm curious if anybody else has any other tips since we moved on to the how to. And so thank you for showing us how to wash their hair. A full long head of hair. Anybody else has any trips or
You can
tricks?
always count on me to be quiet. Erin, you mentioned that the braces are really, really painful. I'm in my late 60s, almost 70. Wore long leg braces through growing up, and then actually took them off when I was in college, and have only recently put them back on in the last 2 years. One thing that I've noticed is that brace makers today, the people who measure you are not the people who are making them. And the braces that I've been given from top quality brace shops, it's not like I'm, you know, using the Bob's Discount braces, um, are actually, they fit very poorly. And the and in the fitting process, people do what they can. But I finally reached the point where I had to disassemble my own and put them back together because the hinges weren't really aligned and all kinds of things that contribute a tremendous amount to making braces uncomfortable. So I think as a community, the thing we've got to do is get to be much more directive to the brace makers, because there's no way that these braces should be impacting us this badly and leaving us with sores. They're just not making them well anymore.
I can definitely say lately, well, I don't know how lately I could go with, but my original brace guy from when I became an adult and did it without my mom taking me as a kid, he is actually brothers of the people in DuPont where I used to go as a kid. And so that was nice. It gave me like that comfort and that like familiarness. I can't say the other word, of knowing like, okay, they know kind of what they're doing. And you know, he did it the same way, the plaster casting and everything. Um, he learned very quickly that I am very particular about my braces, and like the slightest little curve in the plastic that's not right, like, nope, I can't do this. Like,
Mhm.
need this fixed. So he got really good with working with me and making it fit to what I needed. And the only thing that we ever really struggled with seeing eye to eye on was the knee pads and how tight they needed to be or where they needed to be, because he would tell me, oh, they need to be up higher so they're right on your knee pad. I'd like, or on your kneecap. And I was like, but if it's right there, then it doesn't feel like it's giving me support that I need. I mean, I also learned to just let him say, okay, this is what it needs to be, and then go home and I can change the buckles later, which I did to an extent. And sometimes I knew that I needed to just try it out and get used to it, and eventually it would feel better and get broken in. Over COVID though, there was a new orthotics place that had opened up in the medical buildings that are across the street from me. I was like, all right, let's give it a try. And so I went there basically to get braces that, like, not so much to walk on always. I can walk on them if I want to, but mainly because I needed some way to be able to stretch out my knees other than just putting the footrest up on my wheelchair or going to physical therapy. So I went there, and instead of doing the casting, they just did it by like images
Mhm.
of my leg. And that was definitely a different experience. I would never be able to do that if I was getting braces for everyday use and walking. So, but my brace guy and I, original brace guy and I, he's still a good guy. And I told him, I was like, I'll come back to you if I ever decide to get braces again. So,
Yep. It's a challenge. And they've been experts for a long time, so sometimes it's hard for the brace people. But the other thing is, like in my braces, the reason the knees aren't aligned is that the people who made the braces are in a shop that you can't even go to. They never saw me. They only saw the castings. They only saw things. And so, they made their best guess on how things were going to line up from what they could see and from the measurements taken. But it's such a different experience from when the person who took your measurements was the person who actually made the braces, which is what it was like many, many years ago. I just think the technologies have changed, as you point out, the imaging approach and things. It makes it tough. It's hard to be your own advocate. It's hard to be an engineer. I'm not trained as an engineer. So, there's a lot of things that go into making living with braces a challenge.
you hear that, Mom? It's not just me.
The whinier, the better, Mom.
So does anybody have any questions?
I was just gonna say the same thing. Do we have any from Facebook? Since we have
no questions.
Erin's entire family and others joining us today.
Now's your chance to ask those questions anonymously, Facebook.
I'll go watch the video and find out who asked them of my family.
Oh goodness. Well, if there are no questions, I'll ask you one. Without infringing on the fact that you can provide advice per se, in given your job, but can you maybe give us some highlights about the types of benefits available or resources available through the Social Security Administration for anybody who may be thinking about applying for any type of benefits? Are there any resources, any website you would share, any services that you have seen used the most often that could be a good resource for our community?
So I will say that our website, socialsecurity.gov, has lots of information about the different types of benefits that are available. And you can do a lot of, like if you're filing for, say, disability, you can do that online. And I know that it's actually can be quicker to get your claim in if you do it online, because generally those are pulled in within a week, whereas a lot of offices may be out 6 weeks for scheduling appointments. If your parents are of retirement age, or if your parents are getting disability benefits, there's disabled adult child benefits, which as long as you're found disabled prior to age 22, then you could be eligible for those benefits. You have to be not married and not have worked over substantial gainful activity since age 22. So, that's the Social Security side. The SSI side, I mean, like I said, I'm not trained in SSI. I know that, the basics of you can't have have resources or income over $2,000 if you're filing as an individual. If you're filing as a couple, so you're both filing for SSI, then it's 3,000.
Mhm.
That's great
That's
information. I was just looking at Felicity. You have the cutest dog, by the way. It's like on camera, rolling around, kissing her. I'm like, so sweet. So sorry, Erin, listening to you,
No,
but
it's
watching
okay.
what's happening on Felicity's Felicity's screen. So if anybody's having I mean I've done a lot of work with different groups, veterans being one of them and others alike, youth with disabilities as well. And I know one of the challenges I've heard about the most is if the forms are not filled out exactly right, people may have to resubmit or appeal the decision. They may get declined for benefits. And I've heard from some people that it is just so disheartening that that is the case, that sometimes they give up prematurely instead of really pursuing it and really fighting for those benefits. So do you see a lot of, I don't know exactly to the extent that you're involved in that, but um, is that something, should people go through the appeal process? Should they escalate? And is there a way to do that if they need extra support and assistance? We're not all born knowing how to fill out paperwork. It's a very bureaucratic process, but it can be life-changing, right? Especially for our community if they're able to get approved for benefits. So I'm just curious, what is your advice knowing that getting declined for how things are filled out um, or otherwise, it's a pretty common occurrence.
Um, and I mean, I hear that from people that call in if I'm answering the general line, that they say everybody gets denied the first time. And that's not really the case, because it's not like everybody's just put into a system that just automatically denies you. There are certain things that are looked at through the medical side. They look at vocational, they look at how long have you had your condition, what types of treatment are you getting, are you active with treatment for, say, like mental health situations. I mean, when I got furloughed from the state, everybody was telling me to apply for Social Security disability, and I was hesitant to, because like, but I can work, and it's just hard for me to find a job that I can do and I can get to because of transportation reasons, things. And so I went in and applied for Social Security finally, because I realized Cobra was going to make me go broke. So I applied, and I remember when they asked me, when did your condition affect you being able to work and not work at all? I was like, well, I can work. It's not that I can't work. I just got furloughed, and it's hard to find another job that like I can do without all the barriers. And they approved me on the first time. I would say just be organized. Like, if you have a phone appointment, organization is so helpful and appreciated, because it just helps to streamline everything. And I'm trying my best to answer this because, like I said before, I'm not answering anything related to Social Security in any type of official employee capacity.
Mhm.
This is just general knowledge and things you can find if you dig enough, or they're readily available.
Mhm.
The forms, if you were to get forms sent to you, and if you have trouble with filling them out, I mean, yes, the lines and the wait times can be long, but you can go into an office or call an office and ask for help, completing it. I mean, I know that there are attorneys out there that will help you, and while I'm not for or against attorneys' involvement, a lot of the initial claim paperwork is, if you do it over the phone with somebody, it's all the same questions.
Well, certainly some great resources there. The programs exist for a reason, right? So I guess the message is to not get discouraged. Not everybody gets declined right away or the first attempt. And even if you are, it's not the end of the road. There's still appeal processes, and there's offices and people like yourself who are able to help with completing the paperwork so people can get the benefits and the help, the financial help that they need. So,
And I always tell people, if you get denied, continue with the appeals and the reconsideration process, because if you start a whole new application, then we use that new filing date as the date that we could possibly go back for benefits from. Whereas if you file a initial claim and then you file a recon and then it goes to a hearing, let's say it's 1.5 years total for all 3 of those. And then say if the hearing is approved, then you could get approved all the way back to that initial filing date.
gotcha. Well, that's good information to have, especially if it can be retroactive. Well, I know that we're down to 3 minutes. I don't know if there's any questions from anyone for Erin before we wrap up the night. As you think of your questions, we have some great things coming up. We have AMC Awareness Day on the 30th. So keep an eye out on newsletter for more light up for AMC locations, more proclamations. Would love to hear if you're working on any of those. I'm sure Ted will do a collage of all of those as they come in. I know that we showcase them on the newsletter, but it will be nice. And I'm sure we can do it. We can put them all together and just see how far this support reaches and how many locations are going to turn blue for us. And then, of course, the biggest highlight coming up in what's countdown, Ted, you said before, 2.5 weeks?
Yes.
2.5 weeks is conference, and it's in Atlanta with lots of things to do. We will be downtown. We have quite a large number of people attending. I think we're at about 500 people, something like that, or close to 500. So that's quite the crowd. We have a lot of newcomers, which is exciting. So for those of you who are seasoned with the conference, I know that you will be welcoming everybody with open arms, showing them the ropes. Just remember what it was your very first time coming to conference and meeting people like yourself. So just be aware that there are a lot of newcomers this year. So we want to show them our love and support and appreciation and make sure that they get the biggest welcome we can show them. And of course, the highlight is not all of the professionals that are going to be speaking, all the doctors, although we love them and thank them and support them. We're really excited about prom. We were talking before we got started about people getting costumes and how creative people will get with an 80s theme. So I cannot wait to see everybody's creativity and just be showcased on the floor. And I've seen some pretty nice dance moves too. So I'm looking forward to everybody having a wonderful, wonderful time. And hopefully you'll get some time to make the most of your Atlanta visit. There's a lot to do, from the aquarium, which is huge, the IMAX theaters, World of Coca-Cola, which is huge and beautiful visit as well. So lots of things to do. So I hope that everybody makes the most of that. And I don't know if I said this before we went live, but we are going to be skipping next week because conference is, like I said, coming up, and there are a lot of moving pieces, a lot of preparation, and we can use every single extra hour that we can to make it all work. So We will miss you all next week, but that only means that the following week we get to see you in person. Which
And
is
we'll be streaming live too from conference too. So definitely
yes.
you'll be able to tune in on Facebook during the whole 3 days of conference, and we'll have the seminars, we'll have photos posted, we'll get things going, and we'll have a photo gallery within a couple weeks afterwards. And we'll have all the videos also posted on our YouTube channel as well. So definitely check in, and it should be good. We're getting close, people. 2 weeks, 14 days. It's coming up.
I know. And we do know not everybody can make it. And so just know that if you cannot, you will be missed. But all of the things that Ted mentioned is really our attempt to make sure that you feel included, that you have access to the information, that you have access to the same resources. So we do our very best to make sure that whether you're attending in person or you're joining us remote, that you feel like you're part of the activities and that all of the information being exchanged, that you can have that as well. So many of the sessions, Ted, I believe will be recorded. We'll have them on YouTube as well, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
On YouTube. Yep.
So you can go back and see them again. If you hear someone from a doctor that you want to hear their presentation, you can watch them multiple times. If you happen to be visiting that doctor coming up, you have an appointment, great way to prepare because you can learn about their techniques, their style, how they communicate. So, take advantage of all of that. So the point is, if you're not able to make it, know that you will be missed, but you will still have access to the very same resources online with live streaming and on YouTube afterwards. So with that said, it is 10:02. So we're not doing the drawing today. Annie has the bathtub with the names, but Ted has promised to connect with her and make sure that we have a winner. We have a winner for tonight.
We'll pull everybody the next time we're back on here on the next Together Tuesday. Erin, I want to thank you again for joining us tonight.
Of course.
Everybody that joined us here on the session and on Facebook, we want to thank everybody, and we will see you all in a few weeks on Together Tuesday, but we will definitely see you at conference in 2 weeks. So be safe and be strong, people. Take care.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Just a small quickie. I want to say thank you to the organizers for the sports events the day before conference. I'll be doing the waterboarding. My waterboarding sounds wrong.
Yeah.
Water surfing.
But anyway, I'll be doing that. I don't know if anybody else on the call is doing any
Wake
one of them.
surfing.
But
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
We can't wait to see it happen. Exciting times ahead. Well, have a good night, everybody. Take care. We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Right.
Good night.
Everyone, much love.
Good night.